boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of The Acolyte, Episode 6, entitled Teach Corrupt, is available on Disney Plus, brought to us by our good friends over at Lucasfilms. This is a show that I was highly anticipating. First, I'll say 3 episodes. I was invested. I'm not gonna go as far to say I was all in, thinking this was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I was enjoying this show. And for some reason or another, it just started to nosedive. I mean, nosedive to the highest degree. I don't know where to pinpoint it, to be honest with you. That's how confusing this show is. And I know I'm coming in hot, but it's just confusing. To it was hard for me to wrap my head around what is taking place on this show, because this show had a lot of promise. This show had real good potential. You think of the plot of this show, you think of the story that is driving this show along at its core. You like, man, that's interesting. This young Sith apprentice seeking revenge against the Jedi, hunting down Jedi, murdering Jedi. And I thought we were going to get this kind of murder mystery where the remaining Jedi would be searching for this a Jedi killer and tracking down clues and chasing them all over the galaxy as this Jedi killer is hunting down the Jedi at the same time, and we get the reveal of this greater plot and all this here. I thought that's what this show was, but it's not. It's far from it. It was setting up to be that, and then it just did a 180 for no reason. It just came out of nowhere. And I was saying before how I can't pinpoint where the problem is, because every aspect of this show is a problem. I mean, the direction, the acting, the writing, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And, I never read the novels, the High Republic novels and stuff like that. I'm mainly a Star Wars nut from its visual media, from the movies and the TV shows. I love that, and I know there's other parts of the media, a la the comics or novels that have come out, and they are canon, and it probably expounds a little more on what's taking place in this show. For instance, the helmet that Kumar uses to fight the Jedi that pretty much deactivates a lightsaber. I didn't know what that was in last week's episode, but it was explained in this episode, and the material he used to make that helmet is talked about in the novels and stuff. I don't know about all that. I had to research it after not yesterday, but last week's show, because it was tearing me up. Like, how is he doing this? And so, okay, that makes sense, but it's not explained. And that was my problem, or is my problem with this show. A lot of stuff isn't explained. Now, I'm not asking the show or any show or movie to write it down on construction paper in crayon for me. I'm not slow. They don't have to give me every single detail. But with certain things, certain plot points that are pretty big, you kind of want to explain that. You kind of want to expound on it a little more for those who are uninitiated, like me, who are just watching the show as a fan of the prop, not as a super fan, but it is what it is. We left off last week with, of course, last episode, as much as I was disappointed with it, there were elements of the show where I was excited. It had a lot of action. The lightsaber battles between Kumar and the young Jedi, where he just slaughtered them. Using the Force to turn Jedi into a Jedi kebab was pretty interesting. Even him using that helmet as a deterrent to a lightsaber was pretty cool and all that. That action sequence was cool. The reveal of Kumar being the master or the acolyte, or him looking for acolyte actually, but he's the master, was interesting. It was more or less the execution of everything else in that show or that episode that I didn't like. Well, in episode 6, it was even worse. Episode 6, oh boy, where do I begin? I mean, where do I start? Uh, uh you know, from last episode, we see that May has switched places with Osha to sneak on the ship with Saul. Now, a lot of debate was going on online how Saul didn't know. I mean, he is deep with the Force. He should have been able to sense this, right? Well, they kind of explained it in this episode as we got deeper in the episode, but that plot in the May thing. Well, I'm gonna get to the May thing, but anyway, she switched places with May, got on the ship. Um, Kumar took Osha and brought her to an unknown planet where he kind of nursed her up, dressed her wounds and all this here. Took a bath in front of her. And it was that was just unnecessary and silly. The whole point was silly. It made no sense. It was just an excuse to keep get what's his name, who plays Kumar. It was just an excuse to get his shirt off, I guess. I don't know, but whatever. And so you got those two things going on. You have Vernestra, who is on Coruscant. She's trying to figure out what's going on with Saul. They tell her that Saul sent a message. They had to decrypt it and found out that his team is dead. Now she wants to go to the planet, to Kofar, and find out what's going on. Where this come from. Now she wants to get involved. Uh, and you have that storyline going on. You have Basil, the little, I don't know what you call him, whatever creature he is who can track. He's a tracker, and he's on the ship. He knows that May isn't Osha. He has a piece of Pip, the little droid, and all this here. And look, let me get to the point of this, because trying to go through it all is giving me a headache. I'm gonna be honest. I'm being upfront and honest. This was a bad episode. This has turned into a bad show. And I know for a lot of people it will turn into a bad show. The opening scene of that first episode, I wasn't there yet. It took me a few weeks, but I'm there now. And for example, let's talk about May. Now, May, we were first introduced to her. She was murdering Jedi, right? Okay, she's murdering Jedi, holding home. She's a beast. She took on Jedi. Well, one in particular, Carrie Ann Moss. First episode, first scene, exciting, got you hyped up. Took her out. She took out the other one who was in meditation. Of course, she didn't really, quote unquote, take him out. Gave him that poison, but whatever. She killed 2 Jedi. She's responsible for the deaths of 2 Jedi. Then we fast forward a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden she changes on a dime. Oh, Osha's alive. Everything changed now. I'm going to turn myself into the Jedi. I'm going to tell them all what I did and tell them about the master and blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay. A little sudden, but let's see where this goes. 1 week later, or 1 episode later, because it wasn't a week chronologically on the show. On the show, it was like 5 minutes later. she changes her mind again. Uh, she witnesses her sister about to be murdered. Now, just a second ago, you realized she was alive, and your whole world changed. You wanted to be with your sister and all this other stuff. Next second, you were about to just stand there and watch your sister be murdered. You fought the Jedi, and now you're sneaking on a ship, posing as your sister, not knowing if your sister is alive or dead. First, you fought your sister, the same one that changed your perspective on life, and now you're fighting her, taking her clothes to disguise yourself as her to sneak onto a ship. Okay, there's that. There's the character of Osha. Now we have Osha. Osha, I don't know her motivations. I don't. We're 6 episodes in, and I have no idea what is Osha's mindset. Do she want to be a Jedi? Do she want to catch her sister? Do she want to find out what happened on her home world? Do she want to just go off and live her private life? I have no clue. I have no idea. There's that. Then at the end of this episode, she puts on the helmet that was worn by Kumar and breathing in this helmet like she's Darth Vader. I mean, they literally used the same breathing noises. And you have that going on. So has she embraced the dark side? Now, all of a sudden, in this episode, she's talking about being a Jedi to Kumar, taking him in and all this other stuff. He puts on his charm and trying to entice her to the dark side and whatnot. And by the end, like I said, she puts on the helmet and this, that, and the third. Oh, that's all it took? That's all it took? A 10-minute conversation, and now, okay, I embrace the dark side. She never indicated at no point in the previous 5 episodes that she was willing to turn to the dark side. It made no sense. All right, you have Saul, who I absolutely love in this show. I love Lee Jung Jae's performance as Saul. And to add to the fact that he learned English for this role. He never spoke English until he got this role. And with you knowing that, you would appreciate his performance even more. Because this man who just learned the language is out acting everybody on this show who native language is English. It is mind-boggling. Now, I don't know if he's that good or everybody else around him is that bad, but I am enjoying his performance. His character, that's a different story, especially in this episode. Now, I have no idea what his motivations are. What's his mind frame? Because before, he seemed like a pure Jedi. He seemed pure in his intentions and everything. All that has flipped. Now, granted, they've been planting seeds throughout the show that there's more to what happened on what is it, Brindok, where Osha and May are from. There's more than what meets the eye, what that took place on that planet. And Saul, 9 times out of 10, was involved. And so there is that element there. The seeds have been planted, but it seemed throughout the performance of Lee Jung Jae that his character is pure at heart until this week. And it makes no sense. Kumar, I understand the flip. I understand that. That's the only change that I get, because he was this bumbling little idiot in the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then we got the reveal. So now it all makes sense. That was all a ruse. That was an act. Okay, cool. I'm cool with him. I'm cool with him. But the actress who plays Vernesta, that is a miscast role. And I don't like getting on shows like this and just bashing actors because I can't act. So if I was on, if I was in front of a camera, I would be worse than anybody that I criticize. I fully acknowledge that. But I gotta call it like I see it. She was miscast in this role. I'm pretty sure she's a good actress. I'm pretty sure. Just not in this role. She is stoic. She is stiff. She's just delivering lines. You know, there's no life in her performance. There's no living in that character's skin. She's just reciting lines. And I can't feel it. I'm not digging it at all. And she's setting up to be a major character. And according to what I researched, she is a major character in the High Republic novels and stuff. All right, but I don't know about the High Republic novels, so this is my first introduction to this character. And I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. Now, I am impressed by her lightsaber whip, because she doesn't have a conventional lightsaber. She has a whip. And that's pretty cool. But she only used it to kill a bug, but that was that, you know. But it does set up something, or ask the question of all of us. When you saw the scars on Kumar's back, that looked like it came from a whip. Was it Vernesta? We shall see, you know. We shall see. But I thought that was kind of curious. But, you know, we have enough questions that need to be answered here in this show. And they just added another one that's going to live rent-free in my mind for another week. Yeah, man, overall, this show is so slow in its reveals and build. I can deal with the reveals coming later. I can live with it coming at the end of the season or even in the next season if you give me something to enjoy in between. There's nothing to enjoy. It's just gibberish. And these actors and actresses, like I said, I kind of jumped all over the actress who's playing Vernesta. And I'm sorry for that. But I can't really put it all on her. Because if you look at all the other actors in this show, they're all suffering. And I think that's from the writing. Just look at Amanda Steinberg. And she is playing Osha and May. She's pulling double duty. She is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. But her performances are uneven and she's suffering. You can tell she's trying. She is doing the best she can to kind of, you know, do the yin and yang thing with the two characters. But it is not working as far as character development and getting behind one or the other. It's just not working. And I don't know. I don't know what happened, because it started off fine. Like I said, it started off fine, or either I was so enamored by the fact that there's a Star Wars show and I'm excited because it's a Star Wars show. I can admit, if that's what it was, I can admit that I probably suffered from that. But I really did enjoy those first three. Those first three were pretty good. And then it just turned left, man. It just went down the pooper. The only actor who is really shining in this show is Lee Jong-jae as Saul. I really love him in this role. I'm a huge fan of his from Squid Game, and you know, it's good to see him in a quote-unquote American production, but he is doing a good job with what's given to him. I like Daphne King, but they killed her off. So there's that. It's just not working. It's not working. I don't know what's going to happen in these next two episodes, the final two episodes of this season. Can they turn it around? I don't think they can do enough to save this show. I really don't see it. But so far, man, I am very disappointed. If I had to describe this show, I would say that the Acolyte is consistently inconsistent. It is all over the place. It doesn't know where it wants to lead you. It is springing off so many branches off a tree that you don't know, man. I mean, I'm not going to say confusing. I'm not confused because I can see what's happening. It's just the execution. I mean, it's just poorly executed. Poorly. you know, it's a lot of potential. And I think that's the most disappointing thing of this show. It was so much potential. At its core, the story, the actual synopsis is a fire story. A Jedi killer. Jedi are hunting a Jedi killer. I would watch that show until my eyes bleed, if that's the concept we're going with. But that's not the show. That's not what they sold us. You know, this is something different. It's like you went to the store to buy Doritos, you picked up the Doritos bag, open up the bag, and Funyuns fall out. You know, it's like this ain't what I bought. It's just very disappointing. I hope that at least these next two episodes will be good. You know, it may not savage the show, but at least go out with two decent shows in this opening season, because I did read somewhere that there's a second season that they plan to do. I doubt it. You know, with the response of this first season, I doubt if it get a second season, but stranger things have happened. But that's my feelings on the Acolyte episode 6. I'm just, the show, I'm done. You know, it's like I'm done. I'm so frustrated with the show, but I'm so deep in. I'm in. You know, I gotta watch it to the end. I feel compelled to watch it to the end. I want to know your thoughts, though. Am I off base? Do you think this is great? I mean, do you think I'm crazy for feeling the way I feel? And if you are, that is fine. That is fine. We can agree on. We can agree without being disagreeable. You know. But I want to know your thoughts, and I want to know why you feel this is a pretty good show. I see potential. This is just a bad show with good parts in it. You know, sometimes you'll see good shows with some bad parts in it. This is a bad show with good parts in it. And, you know, that's just my thoughts. But I want to know yours. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on your podcast networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of The Acolyte, Episode 6, Teach Corrupt. I'll be back next week for Episode 7, I guess. I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.